good afternoon, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to This Week in Comics. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry, and now your humble comics correspondent on Geeks and Gamers. Leading the news in the world of comics and related media this week, it is rumored that Loki will return in Taika Waititi's Thor: Love and Thunder. Fandom Wire reports that Loki will have used the Tesseract to travel the multiverse in his own series and return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Mjolnir in tow, explaining how Jane Foster gets her wafy little fingers on it for Love and Thunder. This does beg the question as to how exactly Loki is now worthy to carry Thor's hammer. It also ruins the only meaningful death in Endgame besides Black Widow. I wonder how long it is before she returns from the dead. Moving on. New Batman Arkham concept art has been leaked, and the game has been cancelled. Featuring Two-Face the Pimp. Featuring Jihadi Poison Ivy. And featuring Women's Rights Black Mask. I think it's safe to say we dodged a batarang on that one. Batarang. In other news, Vampirella #1 becomes Dynamite Comics' best-selling comic of all time, landing in the top 10 for dollar value and number 11 in units sold. Vampirella #1 by Christopher Priest and Gunduz rockets to nearly unheard-of sales numbers for an independent title in this current market. With a total print run of over 130,000 units sold, Dynamite proves that you don't have to kowtow to the social justice warriors ruining this industry, running it into the ground. There are actually fans out there who will buy a classic comic book about a buxom woman running around in a bathing suit. Who knew? Next up, Marvel Comics debuts new X-Men covers and announces a new Deadpool series from writer Kelly Thompson. More X-Men books filled with barely recognizable characters. Oh, wait. Oh, there's Psylocke, and Jubilee, and Rogue. All of the worst Jim Lee costumes from the 90s somehow have managed to make their way into the 21st century. Well, the menagerie of mutants keeps on filling comic book store shelves, glutting up a market that can no longer support this much garbage. You know what the comic industry really needs? Yet another Deadpool series. Oh, wait. Here we go. Kelly Thompson, writer of Rogue and Gambit and Mr. and Mrs. X, gets tapped to take the merc with the mouth on yet another mission for milking money for mutant mania. The House of Ideas, ladies and gentlemen. The House of Ideas. Speaking of Deadpool, a rumor has surfaced that ye old Wade Wilson will be making his first appearance in the MCU in the upcoming Black Widow film. Anyway, the big bad in Black Widow is apparently Taskmaster. And as those who read the comics know, he and Deadpool have a history together as mercs for hire. I guess all mercs are for hire. That's kind of what a mercenary is. Anyways, spoilers, Deadpool and Taskmaster meet up in the after credits scene. So, spoilers, Taskmaster apparently does not die during the movie, in what will likely amount to a spoof of Tony Stark approaching Thunderbolt Ross with the Avengers Initiative. Could this lead to bringing the X-Men into the MCU a little sooner than people have speculated? Well, only Ryan Reynolds knows for sure, and as we all know, he's really bad at keeping secrets. Aquaman star Jason Momoa stages an arrest while defending sacred lands in Hawaii. Oh wait, that's not the right picture. Here we go. Obviously, you can tell by the looks on everyone's face that Momoa is not being arrested, but he is using his celebrity to bring attention to a cause that he believes in, protesting the construction of a 30-meter telescope on the top of a volcano in Hawaii. Which begs the question, what kind of rocket scientist plans to build a 30-meter telescope on the top of a volcano? Does anyone not remember what happened this time? It's like last year. Justice League co-star Ezra Miller was among the protesters showing support for Momoa. I know he's one of these women. Oh, that's the one. For a better picture of Momoa and Miller, though. Sorry, I just love that guy. Shaka, bro. In an effort to better reflect how Marvel creators in the comics treat their fans, Daredevil showrunner Steven DeKnight tells a fan to F off in response to criticism. The fan in question was responding to DeKnight announcing that he had just purchased the original Daredevil costume from the TV show to be proudly displayed in his office. The comic book diehard said on Twitter, "To that terrible reptilian fiberglass polymer travesty belongs in a dumpster fire or a Joel Schumacher film. This is what Daredevil looks like." DeKnight's response is short and sour. Marvel is as Marvel does, ladies and gentlemen. More from Marvel, as Zoe Quinn is hired to write Hellcat. I'm riveted. In Stupid Things Mark Waid said this week, Mark sticks his foot in his mouth yet again as he goes after a YouTuber accusing him of being a borderline white supremacist. To quote, "Hey, do me a favor and circulate. Some sick, borderline white supremacist nuts are circulating faked artwork from a comic I'm writing with Kwanzaa Osajyefo, Ignited, to use as evidence that we're using our book as a pro-violence propaganda tool. We're proud of Ignited. It's about newly empowered school shooting victims who are pushing back against gun violence in all its forms, and I encourage you to check it out." I'm not quite sure how Waid managed to have a school shooting grant powers to a handful of teenagers, but that's not really the point. The YouTuber in question, just some guy, happens to be a black man. And here I thought Mark Waid's duty was to protect minorities. And in dour news, Forbes.com asks, where does DC Comics fit in AT&T's vision for Warner Media? For those of us who went to San Diego Comic-Con this year, we noticed a strange presence missing in the middle of the floor. DC Comics. Usually DC has an enormous booth and a great presence, and you can go and meet artists, creators, stars, and whatnot. And it was just gone. I can't remember who was in its place. But as a former DC comic artist myself, Injustice Gods Among Us, Injustice 2, Batman Arkham Unhinged, it was a noticeable void. In fact, I didn't come across the booth until I walked all the way to the back corner of the convention center against the wall where I found the DC Creator signing area, hidden under the WB booth's rear overhang. I stopped and talked to old friends Bernard Chang and Adam Glass. That's Adam. Now creators on Teen Titans. But that was all I saw. And it begs the question, does WB even care about DC Comics? And more importantly, does AT&T, now that they own Time Warner? The comic book industry is in decline, and that's putting it mildly. Sales and profits from DC Comics publishing for an entire year wouldn't pay the budget to create one movie or TV series. Is the writing on the wall for DC publishing? I've long said that for WB and Disney, DC and Marvel are R&D tax write-offs. They don't have to make money. They just have to produce content that can be farmed for their larger media arms. This disincentive to produce quality work is part of the reason the SJWs have managed to take control over our beloved characters from our youth, and why it's unlikely the comics market will survive this death spiral. The good news is that even though Marvel and DC seem determined to grind comics into the dirt with social justice pablum, there are independent creators out there producing quality, inspired works for comics fans to collect. In each episode of This Week in Comics, I will feature one independent comic creator who is doing just that. This week, we welcome Elliot Fernandez, co-creator and artist on a brand new graphic novel, Doom Kicker. Available for pre-order on Indiegogo now. What's up, Elliot?
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. This is the inaugural episode of This Week in Comics on Geeks and Gamers. Pretty cool.
Well, I'm honored. I am honored.
You should be honored.
Oh, yes.
All right, fantastic. Well, we don't have much time, so let's get right into this. Tell us about your experience in comics, brother.
Well, I did some work for DC. Worked on several issues of Harley Quinn Power Girl. I did some work for Marvel Animation, and also Marvel licensing. And but a lot of the work I did was in Archie comics with their auto covers for Jughead, Archie, and I did an issue of Riverdale, along with issues of Xena versus Army of Darkness over at Dynamite. So I've done a few things like that.
You've been around.
Yeah, been around. Did some stuff. Yeah. And now I'm currently involved in this project, Doom Kicker with Doug TeNapel. Super excited about that project. As a matter of fact, that's probably my most important project.
Yeah. Tell us what Doom Kicker's about, brother.
Doom Kicker is a 96-page spectacular. I use that all the time. It's a suspense thriller, supernatural suspense thriller. It's not quite horror, but has a little bit of everything for everyone. But it might be too strong for the kiddies. But still, it's a story about a guy who works for a factory, and he's an underwhelming man, and he's hoping to live up to his father's legacy.
He's the everyman.
He's just like me. It's me. This just has more hair than I do.
Round in all the right places.
Well, wait a minute. Anyway, so but yeah, it's about overcoming the big things, the supernatural things, perhaps the great things in life, even when you're not feeling up to it. I mean, you're not able to do it, and how he achieves that will be pretty interesting. So I'm excited to share that with everybody. Definitely an opportunity for someone to jump in on a great story.
Yeah, and you're working with Earthworm Jim and Cat Scratch creator Doug TeNapel. Is this going to be sold to Hollywood like so many of his other projects?
We sure do hope so. That's a big part of the plans. Doug, as a matter of fact, when Doug originally created this idea, in its initial form, it was a TV pitch. So it's been developed, and I'm working on it with him now with the first draft or an early draft, and we're reworking some things. And so it's going to be definitely a comic book, but we hope that will be the pitch for a studio or two.
Oh, fantastic. And he's got an incredible batting record when it comes to actually getting things optioned and made, right?
Yeah, he's super successful in that area, and definitely a person to kind of I'm learning a lot from him, and how to do all this stuff and really get ideas off the ground and into that arena.
Fantastic. So what's next for you after Doom Kicker?
After this, I've got a couple of ideas planned. One in particular is going to be a superhero story that I think will be fit maybe a void that I think is happening in the independent marketplace. I'm looking forward to kind of putting my idea to it, my artwork to a cool idea, and I hope you guys will be around for that and check it out and support it.
Fantastic. And so we can get Doom Kicker. When is that planning to fulfill?
I'm planning to fulfill that in February 2020. I'm working on the script and thumbnails right now and pages, and then pretty soon I'll be handing it off to all that stuff to my letterer. And after that, getting it colored up and all kinds of goodies. It's awesome. Going to be good.
Doom Kicker, ladies and gentlemen, available at Indiegogo now. Please do check it out. Any other way people can get a hold of you, follow you on social media, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter under Jerkmonger, under Elliot Fernandez _art on Instagram, and right on YouTube under Jerkmonger as well. Jerkmonger. Yeah.
All right, Elliot, thanks for being on the show. And
thank you, brother.
Yeah, hope everything just flows like milk and honey for you, brother.
That sounds tasty. Will do.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Yep.
This has been This Week in Comics with your host, Mike S. Miller. You can find me on my own channel at Blacklist Universe. And please check out my Indiegogo at LoneStarComic.com.